Okay, so let's move to the next part. And the interesting thing I found was that, so we are doing this in a difficult way, but I found another way that we can use one API request where we can send the city name and we can get the weather updates. So if you go to the this current weather data, so it says inside this table of content, you will find this built-in API request by city name. So if you click on it, so you will find that there is an API call where you can just put the city name, the API key, and you will get the weather information. So yeah, so that was interesting. Before we were getting the weather conditions, the weather updates by passing latitude and longitude, and we get the latitude and longitude from another API call. So yeah, that was one way of doing it, but this is another way, and this is an easy way. So if you want to do this with an easy way, so please continue with this API call. But let's continue with the one which we are doing right now. And then now the next part is, because now we are getting the results, and the next part is we need to set the triggers, and we need to connect this data with our elements, right? So let's go get back to Webflow project, and now we are going to create. So let's make okay, let's just put the city name for now. Let me remove this NY, right? So New York, so we have this temperature. Let me just wrap this into a block, and we can call it hero temperature, because we will separate this degree centigrade with the temperature, right? So let me just make it, this hero temperature will wrap these two elements, and we will use this element to update the temperature, right? And this is another element. So let's put some attributes there. So for putting the attributes, so it's important. So how the Wized will know, how the Wized will recognize our elements on the page. So we need to have attributes on those elements. So to make it visible in Wized, let's put an attribute. So for the name, you have to put Wized, and for the value, you can put anything, and it should be something which is recognizable. So we can make it is city name. Okay, we have to make this one, we can call it city temperature, and this one we can call it city weather or something. Okay, so now as we have assigned the attribute, so let's republish the website, and then if we go back to Wized and we refresh the page, and if I click on this X-ray, so you will see that now these elements are visible inside Wized. Now we can select and we can play with these elements, right? So now let's go to the events part where we can set the triggers. So right now we have the requests. We have two requests. So now we need to define that when this request is going to trigger, when we are going to make an API call. So maybe there is an example like we can set that when the page loads, so make that call. When we click a specific button, so make an API call, or maybe we can have something else as well. So let's go to the events part, and now we want, when we refresh the page, so both API both requests should be sent and our elements should be updated accordingly. So let's create an event and let's make it like open weather, and we can call it weather update. Okay, and we can set a trigger which is when page starts loading. When page starts loading, so we need to get the latitude and longitude, right? And once we get the latitude and longitude, then we will set another trigger, which is going to be that we need the weather updates. And once we get the weather updates, then we have to update the elements. So when the page starts loading, so we need to perform a request, which is going to be get city data, in which we will get the latitude and longitude. Okay, and we can call it like yeah, okay, so let's perform another action after this request. So we can say that okay, let's do this one first. So if I refresh this page and if I go to this data center, and there I can see that my request has been performed and it's successful, and we are getting the information about Riyadh. So if I go back to the request, go back to the city name, because we have put the Riyadh as inside this function editor, so we can change it to Karachi. And now if we just have to refresh the page, so you will see the results. So right now you can see that we have no data, and if I refresh the page, the request run, and now we get the information about Karachi. This looks great, right? And now let's run another request. So for this trigger, let's make it like open weather, get city data, which is the same, because we have the request with the same name, but yeah, that one is a request and this is going to be a trigger. So let's create another event and we can call it open weather, and we can make it like get city weather, and we can make it when the request finishes. So which request finishes? This one. Okay, so when this request gets finishes, so it will be triggered, right? So on this request, on this one, we said that when the page starts loading, so we make an API call, and when we are going to make this API call, the second one, once we get the latitude and longitude, so we will wait until this request finishes, and then we can make another request which is going to be get city weather. right? So now if we go back to this data center and if we refresh the page, so you will observe that this request will run first. Let me make it, yeah. So yeah, this city data request will run first, and once it finishes, so then this request will start sending. I'm refreshing the page. So now we can get the information about Karachi, right? So both requests are successful. So this is great. So now let's so inside this this event, we are going to update okay, so let's go to this this section where we can find all the elements, and let's click on this city name, and we can update this plain text with the value. And what's the value? The value, we can go to the data center and we can click on so we have two requests, and inside this yeah, city weather. Okay, so inside the city weather request we can get the, do we have the city name? Yeah, we have the city name. So let's click on this, right? So this city name will now get the name from the results of the second request we generated. So you can see it, and for the temperature we can click on it, and the text would be, what's the value of this text? So we can go to the data center, and so this is the temperature. So I think it's going to be, so this is the temperature, right? And this is not centigrade, so we need to convert this into centigrade. So let's go to, okay, let me just confirm first. Kelvin, temperature, in Karachi. Let me just confirm that this is the temperature in kelvins, right? Or let's get a formula. Let's go to ChatGPT. Let's ask convert Kelvin temperature in centigrade in JS. Okay, so we get the formula, which is going to be, we are going to create a function, and yeah, we are going to create a function. Let's copy this function, and let's go back to our Wized, and for the temperature we need to have the temperature in centigrade. So let's paste that for that JavaScript code. So we do not need this console.log. We can remove this. We need to have, yeah, so we need to pass the temperature in Kelvin right there. So let's go back and put this temperature there. So it will store this Kelvin temperature in this variable, and then the script will forward this Kelvin temperature to this function right there. and it will convert it into centigrade and it will save it back into the Celsius variable. So now we just need to return Celsius. So once we return, so this is going to be a temperature in centigrade, which is 10.099990. So we want only, yeah, we want the temperature okay, so let's make it to this part because we don't need the temperature after the decimals. So let's copy this part and let's make it to this, to fixed, and it will just keep the numbers into, I think, if I just close. Okay, so we do not need even after the decimals. So let's go back and let's make it to 0. If I just play, okay, so perfect. So now we do not have any number after the decimal, so we can make it to fixed 0 and it work perfectly. So now this is the temperature in centigrade. So we get the temperature in Kelvin and we converted this into centigrades. So, and now we need to update this part as well. So let's click on this element, and what is going to be the text of this element. So let's go back and there we can find some information there. So let's find which is, yeah, we can make it haze. Yeah. So we can put this text, and this is going to be the text under the temperature. Perfect. Okay. So now let's try to change the name of the city. So let's go back to our initial request, which is this one. Let's try to change the city name. Let me make it small if that possible. Yeah, it is. So let's go here and let's try to change the city name. So let's go to London and let's refresh our canvas. So inside in London, it's 2 degrees centigrade and it's cloud. So London temperature, now it's 2 degrees centigrade and it's cloudy. Perfect. So it means that we are getting the correct information, and this is really good. New York. So let's refresh our canvas. And in New York, it's 5 degrees centigrade and mist. So you will see a glitch once the page is loaded. So we can do something like we can put the loading icon once the request is being generated and we are getting the results back. So we can do a lot of things. But this is how you can connect your request results with your elements. And yeah, so from here we will move forward to the next steps where we will try to put the loader icon. We will try to create an input field where we will select the city name, and then based on the selection we will update the results so that we do not have to go to the request values and to change the results. So yeah, in the next part we will try to bring in the input field and we will try to update the results based on the input.